The marketplace was a chaos of color, light, and sound, stretching across the wide plateau of the asteroid colony like a living organism. Hovercarts zoomed between stalls, their engines squealing comically when overloaded with exotic goods. Traders shouted over one another, selling everything from graviton-infused trinkets that floated just above the palm, to glassy pods containing miniature, sentient forests that murmured complaints if handled too roughly. Somewhere above, a pair of hover drones collided midair, spinning in a spiraling dance before crashing into a pile of star-shaped fruits that exploded like fireworks, scattering orange pulp in all directions. The crowd barely noticed. This was a market where absurdity was currency, and the more outrageous the spectacle, the higher the value of the item or the seller. At the center of it all stood the wild alien woman, her long ears twitching like antennae with each irritated glance she threw at the gawking bidders. She wore a simple tunic, woven from the silvery fibers of a planet whose name no one could pronounce, and her posture was a mix of defiance and boredom. Her skin had the warm, almost human tone of a desert sun, but there was a sharpness to her features, a flicker of untamed energy that set the crowd on edge. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, muttering in a tongue that sounded like water rushing over stones, sharp and musical at the same time. Traders, dignitaries, and would-be buyers flinched at her every movement, whispering behind their hands. Rumors of her ferocity had preceded her. She could topple a man twice her size without effort, outwit security systems, and disappear into the shadows of a ship as if swallowed by the very air. To most, she was a storm in flesh, a beautiful, terrifying storm. The auctioneer, a squat creature with 6 eyes and a penchant for glittering jackets, banged a clawed hand against a metallic podium. "Attention, esteemed bidders," he squeaked, voice cracking like a dying star. "Here is an opportunity that may never come again." The wild alien woman, unbroken, untamed, potentially catastrophic. He paused dramatically as if the last word might summon her wrath. She shot him a look that could have caused small meteorites to explode. "Catastrophic?" she said in perfect galactic common, her voice like silk wrapped around steel. "I prefer highly entertaining." A ripple of nervous laughter ran through the crowd. The bidders, a mix of wealthy merchants, galactic bureaucrats, and mercenaries with more ego than sense, all stared at her with varying degrees of fear and fascination. One trader, attempting to appear brave, held up a stack of glowing credits and stammered, I offer 1 million. The alien woman raised a brow so high it nearly defied gravity itself. 1 million, she said, for me. I hope you enjoy breathing your last, amateur. A murmur spread through the crowd. Another bidder tried to laugh it off, but the resulting sound was more of a wheeze. It was clear she was not amused by flattery or money. Then the human soldier appeared. He walked in as if he had just stepped out of a dream or possibly a bar, without a hint of concern for the pandemonium around him. His armor was scuffed from years of service, and his expression was one of mild curiosity rather than fear. He glanced at the alien woman and raised an eyebrow as if noting a particularly interesting storm on a weather map. The crowd tensed. A few fingers twitched toward weapons, but the soldier simply smiled. "Well," he said, voice calm and slightly teasing, "you don't look like the type who appreciates polite introductions." The alien's ears twitched, and she glanced at him like he might be another fool to swat away. "I am not here for introductions," she said, crossing her arms. "I am here to ensure that anyone foolish enough to think they can control me learns how spectacularly wrong they are." The soldier chuckled, a sound that carried oddly across the market. "That sounds accurate," he replied. "And boring." He looked around at the crowd of cowering bidders. "I'll take her." Heads turned sharply. Whispers spread like ionized gas through the plaza. "Did he just buy her?" Someone squeaked. "He's insane," said another. The auctioneer blinked 6 times. "Are you serious, human?" he asked. "Deadly serious," the soldier said, shrugging as if he had ordered a cup of interstellar tea. "Do I get a warranty?" he added with a grin. The alien woman stared at him, long ears twitching faster than the blinking lights of a hyperdrive console. You realize I am not something you can just take home with a handshake and a cred chip?" she said. He smiled wider. "I'm aware, that's why I'm interested." She laughed, a sound like shattering glass and tinkling bells which drew curious eyes from the surrounding traders. The absurdity of the moment seemed to break the tension. For a moment, the market was silent, then erupted into a mix of laughter, outrage, and speculation. As they left the auction platform, the alien woman muttered under her breath, something that sounded suspiciously like, "This human is either a genius or a fool." The soldier tilted his head, pretending to ponder her words seriously. "Possibly both," he said. They stepped onto a small hover platform which groaned under their weight and were lifted above the throngs of merchants, drifting past the smell of roasted nebula fruit and the sight of levitating crystals used as drinks. The alien studied him with sharp, calculating eyes, and he met her gaze with a casual grin that somehow said, "I know what I'm doing, mostly." The journey off the asteroid was an unspoken contest of patience. Every time she tried to assert dominance, tilting the platform with a sudden stomp, flicking at control panels, or muttering technical curses in her liquid language, the soldier responded with humor, diffusing her attacks. "If I fall into a nebula, I expect you to send a postcard," he quipped once as she flicked a control lever, sending the platform into a gentle spin. She rolled her eyes but didn't retaliate further. Instead, her ears twitched in amusement, which the soldier noted with a smug nod. By the time they entered the sparse expanse of open space, a strange rhythm had settled between them. A silent agreement that neither would dominate, yet both would test boundaries. The alien woman, previously untouchable in her wildness, began to reveal cracks in her armor of mistrust, small hints of curiosity, of interest in the human soldier's calm absurdity. The soldier, for his part, found himself enjoying the unpredictability of someone truly untamed, a partner in chaos who could keep up with wit and danger in equal measure. They were an unlikely pair, and perhaps that was the point. The galaxy seemed to have no rules for what happened when fear was ignored and curiosity embraced. And somewhere far below, back in the crowded market, the remaining bidders grumbled and fumed, realizing that no amount of money, negotiation, or strategic wink could have claimed what the human soldier had simply stepped forward to take. In their stead, the alien woman and the soldier drifted away, leaving a trail of disbelief, laughter, and questions that would echo through the corridors of every spaceport for months to come. The hum of the ship's engines was the closest thing to peace the human soldier had experienced in months. The alien woman sat cross-legged on the floor of the cockpit, her long ears twitching in rhythm with the ship's vibrations. Every so often, she would flick a finger at the controls, sending the vessel into a gentle sway that made the human stumble over a loose tool. "Do you always pilot ships like a drunken nebula rat?" he asked, steadying himself on a console. She raised one brow, the movement stretching her long ears skyward. "Do you always trip over everything you touch?" she countered, eyes glinting with mischief. "No," he said, "just over everything that matters." She snorted in amusement, a sound that somehow managed to be both musical and threatening. Their journey across the star lanes was a series of small disasters disguised as exploration. They passed through a sector where gravity fluctuated like a stubborn cat refusing to settle, causing their ship to spin in corkscrew loops. She laughed at his flailing, her voice echoing off the metal walls. "You're terrible at this," she said, and he grinned. "Terrible? No, I call it style." A passing merchant ship honked in warning, their flares barely dodging the human's unorthodox maneuvers. The alien woman clapped her hands, sending sparks scattering from the control panel. "Unorthodox?" she said. "You're lucky the laws of physics are patient." Despite their constant teasing, they began to learn the strange rhythms of each other. The alien woman had a knack for improvisation and problem-solving that left the human both exasperated and impressed. When a rogue asteroid the size of a small city drifted into their path, she reprogrammed the navigation system mid-flight, turning a potential collision into an opportunity to slingshot past the rock like a cosmic roller coaster. "Impressive," he said, half laughing, half coughing from the sudden spin. "I almost died elegantly." Her ears twitched at that and she offered a rare smile. "Elegance is subjective, soldier." They landed on a small moon to refuel, and the surface was a bizarre carnival of alien wildlife and contraband technology. Creatures with translucent skin and multiple limbs milled about, selling everything from floating ice creams that defied gravity to tiny robots that argued over who could perform the better opera. The alien woman wandered among them, twitching her ears at every sound, while the soldier followed, trying not to trip over the uneven ground. A vendor approached them, a gelatinous being with 3 eyes and a nervous tremor. "You seek supplies?" it asked, voice wobbling. The alien woman's ears flicked sharply. "Supplies?" she asked, voice dripping sarcasm. "I seek adventure, mayhem, and possibly a decent cup of tea." The soldier leaned in, whispering, "You're difficult to shop for." She shot him a look that made him reconsider every life choice that had brought him here. The next few days were a montage of misadventures. They attempted to barter with a robot that believed it was royalty, negotiated passage through a nebula filled with singing plasma storms, and survived a minor skirmish with a pack of semi-sentient space drones that had taken a liking to the alien woman's long ears. Each incident was punctuated with humor. The human's deadpan remarks about intergalactic etiquette, the alien woman's sarcastic commentary on human stubbornness, and the occasional, unplanned collision with objects that should not have been touched. The chaos created a rhythm between them, a bond forged not from calm cooperation but from shared absurdity and survival. At night, when the twin moons hung low over the horizon, casting long shadows across the deck, they would talk. The alien woman, usually sharp-tongued and unreadable, revealed fragments of her past, a childhood in the wild expanses of a jungle planet, the strict codes of her clan, the stories of creatures she had outsmarted or bested in her youth. The human soldier, in turn, shared tales of battles that spanned galaxies, of comrades lost and ridiculous training exercises that seemed more like punishment than preparation. Humor threaded through every story, softening grief and fear. "You're not as boring as I expected," she said one night, ears flicking in amusement. He grinned. "I'll take that as a compliment." Their journey was not without peril. A rogue syndicate had caught wind of the alien woman's escape and sent bounty hunters to reclaim her. The first encounter was almost laughable. 2 ships arrived, sleek and deadly, only to be thwarted by the alien woman's clever use of a holographic projector and the human's accidental firing of a smoke dispersal device, which sent the bounty hunter's ship into a loop of confusion. "I call that teamwork," he said as they drifted safely away. She rolled her eyes, though the twitch of her ears betrayed amusement. "Accidental teamwork, perhaps," she replied. By the time they reached a sector dense with asteroid belts and hidden colonies, their partnership had solidified into an unspoken agreement. The alien woman no longer treated him as an irritant, though her sarcastic remarks were constant. The human soldier no longer saw her solely as a potential hazard, though her unpredictability kept him alert. Together, they moved through the galaxy with a rhythm of danger and humor, facing situations that demanded wit and courage. Their interactions, laced with jokes, missteps, and occasional sarcasm, created a bond that neither could have predicted in the austere chaos of the marketplace. One evening, as the ship glided past a swirling nebula that glowed like spilled liquid metal, the alien woman leaned back, letting her long ears twitch lazily. "Do you ever wonder," she said, "why we're still alive after everything we've done to ourselves?" The soldier, lying across the controls with one boot resting on a console, replied, "Because we're stubborn and entertaining. Mostly entertaining." She laughed, the sound a mixture of disbelief and delight. "I suppose you're right," she admitted, "but don't expect me to admit it twice." And so, amidst drifting ships, bizarre creatures, and the ever-present threat of syndicates and rogue asteroids, the human soldier and the wild alien woman moved together across the galaxy. They were an unlikely pair, tethered not by duty or law, but by curiosity, humor, and the unspoken understanding that survival was easier and far more fun when shared. Through the chaos and absurdity, they discovered something rare. A friendship, or perhaps more, that was forged not in comfort, but in the wild, unpredictable dance of life among the stars. The alarm blared with the shrill insistence of a banshee trapped in a warp core as the human soldier scrambled across the deck. The alien woman, perched casually on the railing with her long ears twitching like twin radars, rolled her eyes. "Do you actually enjoy panicking, or is it part of your charm?" she asked, voice calm despite the flashing red lights and blaring klaxons. He skidded to a halt, sliding across the smooth metal floor. "It's a talent, and I like to think I perform best under pressure," he said, narrowly avoiding a stack of blinking crates. She laughed, sharp and musical, and flicked a lever that sent the approaching fleet of bounty hunters spinning into chaotic orbits. "Your talent seems dangerously lucky," she said. The syndicate had tracked them for days, following clues left by the alien woman's notoriety, eager to reclaim the wild force no one else could contain. But the human soldier and his unlikely companion had grown accustomed to chaos. They moved with a rhythm born of trust and mischief, weaving through asteroid fields, leaping across gravitational eddies, and bouncing off plasma tendrils that would have shredded lesser ships. Every near miss came with a quip or a sarcastic observation, humor threading through the danger. "Next time," the soldier shouted as they narrowly avoided a collapsing comet, "maybe we should just ask nicely," she snorted. "Asking nicely rarely works with space pirates or humans," she replied, ears flicking in amusement. Their chase took them into the Halcyon Nebula, a swirl of metallic gases that warped sensors and distorted perception. The alien woman's expertise with the ship's controls shone as she guided them through optical illusions and hidden pockets of gravitational turbulence. The soldier, usually relied on for brute strength and instinct, found himself trusting her judgment completely, letting go of the need to dominate or control. Humor became a survival tool, a way to diffuse fear and maintain clarity in the chaos. "You're terrifyingly competent," he said, ducking as a plasma wave hit the hull. She smirked. "You flatter poorly, human," she replied. The syndicate's lead ship, sleek and glinting with predatory intent, appeared ahead, attempting to block their path. The alien woman grinned, ears quivering with delight. "Time for a proper distraction," she said. With a flick of her wrist, the ship deployed a series of holographic duplicates, each spinning, weaving, and blinking unpredictably. The bounty hunters fired blindly, their shots bouncing off illusions while the soldier executed a series of evasive maneuvers that were as much improvisation as skill. "I feel like we're in a space opera," he muttered. "Only with worse music and more screaming," she replied. The battle escalated into absurdity. The human soldier accidentally activated a gravity pulse that spun one of the hunters into a literal knot, while the alien woman triggered a magnetic field that pulled every metallic object aboard their enemy's ship into a chaotic orbit, turning the vessel into a glittering disco of spinning debris. "Is this your idea of fun?" he shouted over the comms. "It's my idea of winning," she said, voice sharp and triumphant. "Also fun." Laughter echoed through the cockpit, a strange, human-alien rhythm that seemed to mock the seriousness of the galaxy itself. After a tense hour, the syndicate's fleet, battered and humiliated, retreated. The human soldier slumped into a chair, wiping sweat from his brow. "Well," he said, voice weary but light, "that was something." The alien woman leaned back, letting her long ears relax in contentment. "Yes, something that proves neither of us are easy to catch," she said. The bond between them had deepened. Fear had been replaced with trust, respect, and the subtle acknowledgement that they thrived together not despite their differences, but because of them. With the immediate danger gone, they set a course for a quiet colony on the edge of charted space. The alien woman, who had once bristled at every human custom, now teased him gently about his clumsy piloting, and he responded with dry jokes that made her ears flick in amusement. They traded stories, laughter, and light-hearted bets over minor ship functions, discovering joy in small victories and shared absurdity. Their journey, once defined by survival and mistrust, had transformed into companionship and understanding. At the colony, they were welcomed cautiously. Traders who had once feared the alien woman now regarded her with fascination and curiosity, and the human soldier with amusement at his audacity. Both had changed. The alien woman, while still fiercely independent, had learned to trust in the unpredictability of companionship. The soldier had learned that courage often meant embracing chaos rather than controlling it. Together, they represented a new model of partnership, one that balanced risk with humor, instinct with intellect, and wildness with loyalty. In a quiet moment, floating above the colony on the observation deck of their ship, the alien woman looked at the sprawling lights below, her long ears flicking gently in the breeze of the artificial atmosphere. "You know," she said softly, "I never expected to find someone who could match me in madness and still make me laugh." The human soldier, leaning casually against the rail, smiled. "I never expected to find someone who makes chaos feel like home." They shared a moment of silent understanding, a pact forged in fire, laughter, and the endless expanse of space. Their journey had begun as a gamble, a reckless choice to take in the untamed and unpredictable. Now it had become a story of trust, resilience, and a bond that defied expectations. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, could no longer contain their influence, not through fear, not through power, but through the simple, stubborn insistence that two unlikely beings could carve a path together. And as the stars streaked past the observation deck, both knew that while adventures awaited, for the first time, they faced the future not with dread, but with anticipation, humor, and the comfort of companionship forged in the wild. In the end, they had survived not because either was invincible, but because